Things are, of course, improving, but slowly after last year's historic flooding, as we know. So many areas were negatively impacted by the flood, and that is true for the community just 10 minutes north of Sioux City. Now there are new plans emerging for the future of this small community in South Dakota.
Live from North Sioux City, South Dakota, this is Hometown Proud.
And we are taking a much closer look at what is believed to be the first settlement in the state of South Dakota. Tonight, we're exploring North Sioux City's past, present, and future in another edition of our Hometown Proud segment. And that is where we find KCAU9's Tim Seaman tonight, joining us live from actually where South Dakota and Iowa meet. Hi, Tim.
Hey, good evening, Betsy. Beautiful night here in North Sioux City, actually at the intersection of Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota, all right here in North Sioux City. It's a small town, as you'll learn, but it's big on history, and its best days could still be ahead. Let's start with one of the most recognized businesses ever here in North Sioux. Long before today's business development, a little computer company called Gateway was based right here, and it did business around the globe. At the time, no one would have predicted that local startup, dreamed by a couple of college dropouts, would still be making an impact in this community today.
You know, there were a lot of skeptics, no doubt about it, and I don't think anyone ever in their wildest expectations, other probably than Ted Wade, could have imagined what it would have grown into. I mean, it was a Fortune 300 company at one time. Unbelievable.
Ted Wade and Mike Hammond founded Gateway in 1985. In 2000, the company employed nearly 25,000 workers worldwide, most of it at its North Sioux City headquarters. The trademark cow spots that covered the company's headquarters are gone, but the Gateway Business Park still stands. Among its occupants is Sterling Corporation, a provider of technology solutions working with government and commercial clients, offering hardware, software, and IT services. Sterling President Tim McCabe is just one of several former Gateway employees now leading the company.
You know, we were able to join a company that was growing, and it gave us all a great opportunity. I think it would be a lot different if Gateway wasn't here.
You can also find former Gateway employees Bridget Winders and Troy Stoltz listed among Sterling's top executives. They're convinced the example Gateway provided continues.
You know, back in the Gateway days, none of us had done any of this work. We were all brand new to business, and the company gave us the freedom to learn and go develop, and I think that's a lot of the spirit that exists here at Sterling too.
I mean, at the time, I don't think any of us knew really what our careers at Gateway were going to afford us. But now looking back, I'm so grateful for the early days, what I learned, how we grew.
So although these cow spots are no longer part of the North Sioux City landscape, the business understanding Gateway brought to life here is still in play.
You take a look at the businesses that have spun off in North Sioux City, you know, a lot of businesses out there from people who were former Gateway employees who learned how to do it.
We are outside the North Sioux City City Hall tonight. Gateway helped probably build that building. Gateway, not the only place, though, that has former employees making an impact today in the business community. Fimco, RTI, Avalon, all with former Gateway employees now leading those companies. And by the way, the Waite Family Foundation is still active with the area with nonprofit agencies right here at home. Today, there are several large businesses in this community. A town of about 3,000 has some 9,000, or close to at least, folks that work in this community, I should say, on any given day. And it's an indication that there's plenty of growth to come right here in North Sioux City in the future. Located at the intersection, as we said, of three states, three Midwestern states, there's great transportation, favorable business climates, available workforce, and as I say, transportation is key. Space in the North Derby Industrial Area and Flynn Business Park still filling up today with additional economic growth planned by 2028. In the meantime, a plan to provide additional residential options is underway. It includes what is known as Union Crossing.
It's something that we've worked a long time to try and help make this project happen, and it's finally starting to move forward. What they're calling 1A, they're going to bring in 58 residential dwellings. By the time phase 1B is done, it'll be 110. So that's single family and duplexes. They're working with signature companies to do an apartment townhome complex. So there would be 100 apartments and 77 townhomes.
Nilga says that the development on the west side of I-29 will include prime commercial space as well once complete. You can't really talk about residential space here in North Sioux City without reflecting back on the folks that live at McCook Lake who lost everything during last year's flooding. It turns out that this area actually has a history with flooding as well. Take a look at these pictures, images from the Sioux City Museum showing high water from 1952, rapid melting and an ice jam on the Missouri had folks wading in water that year. But here, a year after the Big Sioux River topped its banks, sending water through McCook Lake neighborhoods, the view is slowly changing. Homes are still missing, but some are coming back. And there are still questions how the millions of dollars in damage will be paid for. Protecting the city from future flooding is important, according to Mayor Chris Bogenreef. That means replacing the 1970s era flood plan used in 2024. But even a city development plan will cost some big bucks.
We at least have some designs ready to go, but we're told the price tag for that is about $20 million, no matter which alternate we choose. So that's a lot of money for a town of 3,000 people. So unless we can identify other funding sources, that's going to be a tough go to get something in the near future, the next 5 years.
Bogenreef says that a plan developed by the county and the Army Corps of Engineers would take even longer to complete and has a higher price tag. Until the change is made, though, images like these will continue to haunt many people. Well, North Sioux City has quite a history of racing. They've had horses, they've had cars, and they've had dogs, all racing right here in the neighborhood. KCAU9 reporter Luke Larson joins me here tonight with more on what was known as Sodrack Park. Luke?
Thanks, Tim. And while it might look like I'm standing in a random residential neighborhood, in reality, these grounds were once home to an entertainment destination that drew crowds of thousands from across the Midwest. A place where folks would come to hear those famous words, "Here comes the bunny." Some might know Jeff Donaldson as the owner of the Sun Valley Golf Course, but before that, Jeff held a special role at Sodrack Park as the announcer.
It was my first job right out of college, 1987. Mike Shear, who had been the announcer for many, many years, and he was great at it, he retired. And so I took over for a couple summers.
The Sodrack Park Greyhound track opened in 1955, right off of Interstate 29 in North Sioux City. Greyhound and horse racing boomed as the only legal sanctioned form of gambling at the time. Thousands of folks would come out to take part in the races. Donaldson recalls that his time announcing at the park was more than just a job.
It was fun a lot of times to be calling the races, but to see my friends right down there at the finish line on the fence, and they would either be going yes or throwing their program down because they lost. That was always kind of fun. But it was, I worked there 2 years and not one day felt like a day of work.
Sodrack Park was just one of the few venues in Siouxland where it was legal to gamble.
They would get big busloads of folks from hundreds and hundreds of people from Omaha, from Minneapolis, from Kansas City on the weekends, and it was really the thing to do.
The impact the venue had on North Sioux City was clear. In 1984, the park's annual revenue peaked at $26 million.
Yeah, you had 3 racetracks, and they were all doing very well. They all had big crowds. And then the casinos came along, and that changed everything.
In 1989, South Dakota legislature passed a law allowing video lottery in the state, and the Strip in North Sioux City was established. That, along with other racing tracks popping up in surrounding cities, led to the downfall of the park. They officially closed in 1996. But along with many other Siouxlanders, Donaldson won't forget the memory of Sodrack Park.
We built a house, I think, in 2022, and it's on the grounds of Sodrack Park. So you have to turn on Sodrack Drive to get in it, and it just brings back a lot of memories of coming down I-29 and turning off that ramp and going to Sodrack.
And while there might not be very many physical examples of Sawdrak's Park existence in the year 2025, the street signs around here reference racing of some kind. For example, right now I'm on Churchill Circle. It's just a little nod to the history of Sawdrak Park. In North Sioux City, I'm Luke Larson, KCAU9 News.
All right, Luke, thanks a lot for that. And by the way, there's only 2 dog tracks now operating here in the United States. Let's go to some really old history now. In fact, centuries old history to share with you tonight. North Sioux City initially was a gathering area, you could say, for Native Americans. The area developed by European American settlement after the Lewis and Clark expedition passed through in 1804. So there are many buried bodies in this area from that timeline. Most recently, in 2014, the remains of 4 adults, 2 children, and 3 infants were found in North Sioux City's outskirts along Interstate 29. Eric Rosenbaum has researched the discovery extensively, and state archaeologists have determined that the mixed race family likely was buried here in the 1860s. Each year, the burial site is marked with flowers. Fur traders gathered in this area for around 20 years, beginning in the 1850s. And at 5 o'clock, we introduced you to Eddie Rickenbacker. He was a racer and a World War I hero. Tonight, we've got another famous name to pass your way, this one involving the airlines. How about Charles Lindbergh? Lindbergh, of course, known for flying his single-engine, single-seat, single-wing monoplane from New York to Paris in 1927. It was the first solo nonstop transatlantic flight. He also flew his aircraft on numerous occasions, including one touchdown here in North Sioux City that had this place buzzing.
He landed at Rickenbacker Field. That's where they landed, and he was on a tour around the country, I think, is what he was doing after his big crossing of the Atlantic, and there were trains of people coming from all over, Fort Dodge, Omaha, Kansas City, Chicago, just to see him. In fact, he was so big, he had 2 parades in one day.
2 parades, how about that? And today, Graham Field is looking for private development. Some big plans there in the future as well. Betsy, folks here have been great to work with today, helping us out both at Adams Nature Preserve as well as right here outside City Hall. We're not done here, though. We'll have more. Victor standing by with an update on our forecast. We'll get that just a bit later. But in the meantime, send it back to you downtown. Tim Seaman, KCAU 9 News.